Welcome children to our history class. Children, today we are going to study about India under the Delhi Sultanate. So in our previous chapters we have known that in Delhi Sultanate there were five dynasties that ruled over our country, and they lay stress on the expansion of the territory. So now we'll see what kind of a life did people lead, and the sultans, what kind of administration did the sultans give to the people. So in this chapter we are going to learn all about this. In the first case we will learn about the society and religion at that time. So society was divided into four categories: the aristocrats, priests, town people, common people or farmers. So these were the four categories into which the society was divided. The aristocrats included the royal families, the priests included the learned family, and under them came the town people, and then the fourth division was of the common people or the farmers. So this was the social division that was made during the Delhi Sultanate. Now, Hindu Brahmins and the ulema and qazis were considered to be the legal scholars of this society. Then in the town people comes that these people lived in towns and they comprised the traders, artisans and craftsmen, and the traders were very prosperous. Then we come to the fourth group, that is the farmers group, and here their condition was very deplorable when their crops were destroyed and they had to pay the taxes. So heavy taxes were imposed on this society. Then we come to the religious aspect of this sultanate, where the ulema was considered to be the religious head, and the sultan was highly influenced by these ulemas because they always consulted with the ulemas on important matters. So the Hindus and non-Hindus had to pay a religious tax that was known as the jizya tax. Now we come to, during this period, two reform movements also began, and that was the Sufi movement and the Bhakti movement. The Sufism was for the Muslim reform movement, and the Bhakti movement was the Hindu reform movement. So in this context there was a lot of change that came into this into the ongoing religious systems. The administration and economy. Now the second aspect into which we will study is the administration and the economy. So administration was set up with a firm and stable government, and throughout the Sultanate period the administrative setup remained the same, and the Sultan was considered as the head of the Sultanate, and whatever the Sultan said, that became the law. So his words were the law. The right to the Sultanate throne was not hereditary. So whoever was powerful attained the throne. Then under the Sultan comes the next is the Wazir. Wazir or the Prime Minister, who is considered to be after the position of the Sultan. Then we come to the judiciary officials. The chief judges were the Qazi ul Qazat or Qazi. And then we come on to the army affairs. So army affairs were handled by the officers who were known as the REC Mamalik. So this was how his administration was divided. Then we come to the administrative divisions. The Sultan's empire was divided into different sections. That is, the first was divided into the provinces, and under the provinces came a lot of sheikhs, and then came the parganas, and then lastly the nuktis. So a governor who ran the administration of a province with the help of officers was called nuktis. And then we come to the sheikhs. The sheikhs were headed by the sheikhtar, and the village administration was taken over and run by the muqaddam, who was the headman, the patwari, who was the record keeper, and the munsif, who was the accountant. And all the local disputes was governed by the village panchayat. Then we come to the agriculture and trade in this sections. So the Persian wheel was taken into consideration, and it was the fusion of Indian and Persian irrigation technologies. This boosted the agricultural production during this Delhi Sultanate. The land revenue was collected from the farmers, and it was the chief source of the government's income. Now, trade and industry. So, trade was another important economic activity where sea routes connected to India to Europe and China. So, land routes were facilitated trading with Central Asia, Afghanistan, Persia, Tibet, and Bhutan. So, cloth and textiles were exported, and also herbs were exported from India to these countries. The chief industries were the textiles, metal, stone, and brickwork. Now we come to the literature and education. So, what kind of literary works in were seen in this period? So, the Sultanate saw the spread of Persian and Arabic languages, and it gave birth to a new religion called the Urdu. So, the great literature was produced in Indian regional languages such as Sanskrit, Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, Tamil, and Kannada. So, see, these were the regional languages in which the literature was produced. Then, Arabic was also spoken by a large section of people and the Hindus. And for Hindus, Sanskrit was the language for higher learning. Persian and Sanskrit were the languages of the elite classes. Then many of the writers emerged during this period. That was Amir Khusro, who was also known as Tuti Hind or the Parrot of India. He came in the court of Alauddin Khilji. He wrote fine poetries both in Hindi and Persian. Then Manhaj Siraj and Ziauddin Barani and traveler Ibn Battuta wrote useful accounts in Persian about the lives of the sultans and masses in their times. Barani wrote the Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi, and the Center for Sanskrit Learning was opened at Mithila. Now, during this period, many of writers like the notable works in Sanskrit and Hindi of the period include Padmavat by Malik Muhammad Jaizi, Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai, and Chandravat by Mullah Daud. Surdas also wrote Sur Sagar, and Sultan Firoz Shah Tughlaq and Sikandar Lodi got many of the Sanskrit works translated into Persian. Now, this was the literary work, and now we come to the education. So, what kind of education was given to the people? The upper class of society sent their children for education, and Hindu children studied in temples while Muslim children went to mosques for education. The Hindu schools were called patshalas or tolls, while the Muslim schools they were known as madrasas and maktabs. So, for the promotion of these Muslim madrasas, jagirs were given to the madrasas to promote the religious learning. In the Tughlaq dynasty, a great emphasis was given on the spread of education. Firoz Shah Tughlaq set up a madrasa at Hauz Khas in Delhi, and with the siege of Baghdad, Delhi became the most important place in the world for Islamic education. Now we come to the art and architecture of this period. So, art and architecture, the Quwat Islam was the first mosque in India that was believed to be made during this period, and the Qutub Minar, these both were made with the material of 27 ancient Jain temples. So, 27, the material that was required for 27 ancient Jain temples, they were used, that amount of material was used to build the Quwatul Islam and the Qutub Minar. Now, in this architectural structure, the dome, the pointed or true arc, and the use of colored tiles, mortar, and concrete were the main architectural features introduced during this period. The new type of structures built were mosques, tombs, and minarets. So, these were the new kind of structures that was introduced while building the architectural buildings. So, even the verses of Quran were inscribed or engraved on the walls and pillars, which were decorated with geometrical and floral designs. The later sultans, the Sayyids and Lodis, they introduced the concept of double dome. That is the last dynasties, the last two dynasties of the Sayyid and the Lodis, they introduced the concept of double dome. Now, many cities also came into existence where Alauddin Khilji built the capital city of Siri in 1303 and it is located near the House Khas in Delhi. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, he built the Tughlaqabad and the Tughlaqabad fort. Then Jahanpana, another city in Delhi, was built by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and Firozabad was built by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, and now it is known as the Firoz Shah Kotla. The Alai Darwaza, Hazi Khas, which is now known as Hauz Khas, Adhai Din Ka Jhopra in Ajmer, and tombs of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq and Sikandar Lodi. These were the important, and even the fortress at Adilabad, were the main monuments during this Sultanate period. Now, this Hauz Khas was, or the royal tank, was built by Alauddin Khilji to supply water to the inhabitants of Siri city. And Firoz Shah Tughlaq built a madrasa, mosque, and a tomb for himself near the royal tank. Now we come to the music and dance. So, Kathak was a new dance form that evolved during this period. Then, introduction of chorus singing, that is Qawwali, was introduced in India. The Hindustani music was the northern music, northern Indian music. It also came into existence. Then Arabic and Indian classical music style also was known during the period. Now the Bhakti saints such as Mirabai, Kabir, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they also came for the religious reforms. Then Qawwali singing style was popularized by Muslim saints called Sufis who sang devotional songs. They also introduced musical instruments like rabab, sarangi, sitar and tabla. Now sitar was invented by Amir Khusro as it was the combination of veena and the tanpura. Then we come to the Kathak. Kathak stands out as the best example of the fusion of Muslim and Hindu cultures because the Kathak dancers, they wore the Persian costumes but they performed the Hindu themes of dance. The Rajput style of miniature painting was popular in this Sultanate period. So this was the painting of the Sultanate period, and they introduced the Rajput style of miniature painting. Miniature means very small painting things were introduced. So the early sultans did not show any interest in painting, but the later sultans, particularly the Lodhis, were patrons of miniature style of painting. So the miniature paintings were used to illustrate books. Under the Delhi Sultanate, important changes occurred in many aspects of life of the people in India. And the Sultanate period witnessed the interweaving of Hindu and Muslim cultures in our society. So, this is all about this chapter, and we have learnt how the Delhi Sultanate ruled over the country, and it was so systematic and such a well devised system to govern the country. So, this is all for now. Have a nice day.